Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Alex. So I may have mentioned in a previous podcast that this past month I decided to take some of my own advice that I have been giving to you guys and go out and cultivate awe on my own. So I went for a little walk. I took myself down to the local park and meandered through the woods for a couple of hours. There are so many different animals in that park that it was really enriching for me. I probably only walked about 3 miles total, about 1.5 to the point that I stopped and then decided to turn back and go to my car. But it was really great for me. And it wasn't so much about the exercise. 3 miles in, 2 hours is not my personal best time, but I wasn't there to get cardio. I was there for spiritual and emotional wellness. So I just had a good time walking around and looking at deer, and I saw some cardinals, which is really cool because I'm originally from North Carolina and that's our state bird. And I think they're gorgeous, but I haven't seen any in years since I moved to Texas. I didn't even know there were cardinals here. So while it may seem kind of mundane, for me, being out with wildlife really does cultivate awe. That never gets old for me. So cultivating awe is just about whatever does that for you. It could be city architecture or just seeing other people being kind to each other. Whatever it is, you go for it. But my greater point is that while I was out there taking my leisurely stroll through the woods, I came across several other people out there doing the same thing. There were people biking, people running, but also just taking leisurely strolls with their friends. However, I made one friend during that time. He is my first friend since moving to San Antonio in August of this past year. I don't leave my house much. I don't really leave my apartment complex much. I do, have to go outside in order to go to the gym or the pool. But my point is that I made this friend, and while I was out there walking with him, we walked the 1.5 miles back to the parking lot together, and he told me a little bit about his life. So he's 65 years old and a retired cardiologist. So he's very conscious of heart health. And he says that whenever he goes out there and walks, he walks about 8 miles each time. He has it clocked as to which trails he takes through that local park area and knows exactly how far he has to walk until it's 8 miles. Also, his wife was out walking too, but they take walks separately as well as together. So she wasn't with us at the time, but she was checking in with him throughout their walking to make sure that, he was still walking and everything. So he has a walking buddy, even if he is not actively walking next to his wife. And I thought that was really cute. And I was asked what she was doing, and he said, "Oh, she's also walking." And I think that that's really sweet, and it's a lot of fun and also very healthy from a relationship perspective to take a little bit of time to, cultivate awe in your own right. He said that he and his wife take a lot of pictures of wildlife as well when they're out there walking. Now, that said, I also had just been leisurely strolling through the area and staring at wildlife, just standing stock still for a while. So when I started walking with my new friend, I actually started sweating. I had to pick up the pace to keep up with him. And it really reminded me a lot of my grandparents from when I was a kid, and they would take us to places like Jamestown and Williamsburg and Old Salem and really try to culturally enrich us by walking us through all these areas. And we would also do something fun, but, for them, the cultural aspect was fun. As an adult, I appreciate it, but at the time, I was like, oh, I'm so tired. My little legs are so sore. Because I was like 9 at the time. But my grandparents, who were, I believe, in their 50s at the time, 40s or 50s, they were like totally fine. And they had like really great calf muscles and everything because they loved hiking and all these different types of exercise. And they've been really good role models for me regarding, maintaining a healthy lifestyle and still being active as you get older. Like I've seen my grandma do her workout routines as well as I've gotten older. And it's really gotten me thinking a lot about aging and fitness. My new friend and my grandparents. So I want to talk today about aging and fitness because you can stay fit at any age, as indicated by my new friend and my grandparents, and I think that that's really inspirational. We are all aging as we speak, and this is going to be relevant for all of us, no matter at what point on that aging journey we are each currently at. So first up, I want to talk about staying fit at any age. We cannot stop the slow onward progress of time, but that does not mean we have to be less active. As we get older, our body starts to slow down, and certain tasks that used to be easy to accomplish now require a lot more effort. For example, I am 31 now, and 5 years ago, I could just drink Dr. Peppers all day and just eat, prefab pizza and totally feel fine. But if I tried that now, my body would cry out for vegetables. It literally is like, please get me vegetables. Mother, I crave vegetables. And that is where I'm at right now. So, your metabolism slows down as you get older. That causes you to gain weight as well. You lose muscle mass, your heart fitness tends to decline, and our reflexes also aren't as sharp as they used to be as we get older. Now that might sound like a big bummer, but the good news is we can slow down the aging process through regular exercise. Now, when I say regular, you don't have to do it every day. You just have to be pretty consistent about it. So I go to the gym right now about 3 days per week. As I gain more muscle mass from working out, I'm able to go longer without having to go to the gym because the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to naturally burn even at a resting state. And that still applies as you age as well. So going regularly 3 times a week is still good. We just don't want to go, 3 days this week, and then we're not going to go for 3 weeks, and then we're going to go 5 days that week. Your body's just going to be kind of confused at that point. So we want to do regular exercise. What kind of exercise should we be doing though? Well, you can do strength training, so like weightlifting. And when I say weightlifting, it freaks a lot of people out, but I don't mean you have to be bench pressing 150 pounds or anything like that. We're going to start with like 5-pound weights, 3-pound weights, whatever you need to start with. You start with that. No judgment. You are all on your own timelines, just like I am with my fitness routine. We all have different goals as well. My goal is not to be able to bench press 150 pounds. That's greater than my own weight. I would be like a little ant. And that's totally fine. That is some people's goals. And I think that that's totally cool. But keep in mind, we're all looking for different things. So when I say strength training or weight training, don't panic. I just mean, building up your muscles, whether that is just toning or defining them, or you want to get super buffed and jacked, go for it. Whatever makes you happy. But it can just be as simple as just doing enough each week in order to help with your aging and your joint mobility. You can do endurance exercises. You can do interval training. Whatever you need to do is going to be based on what your goals are. But for the biggest ones for aging is we're wanting to do exercises that will help us maintain muscle mass, prevent cardiovascular disease, and also improve our balance. We're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in depth. Stay tuned.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Welcome back. In our last segment, we were talking about aging and how fitness changes as we age. Right now, we are going to talk about different types of fitness routines that can really slow down our biological clocks. So, for the first one, endurance exercises. Any activities that you do in this category include jogging, running, cycling, swimming, all those things that really help get your heart rate up to improve your cardiovascular health and prevent your metabolism from slowing down. So how much are you looking to do? You want to get 30 to 60 minutes of moderate intensity cardio or aerobic activity for most days, but you're really looking for a total of 150 minutes each week. So you can split that up as 30 minutes for 5 days and have 2 rest days, or you can do 60, 60, 30 and go from there, 30, 30, I believe. So split it up between 4 days. However you want to break that up, do 45 minutes and, change your amount of days and stuff. Whatever works best for you. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but really you're looking for 150 minutes per week. For interval training, we look to really cycle through what we're doing. So instead of just solely running or biking, you're going to alternate bursts of really intense activity, the kind that makes you breathe heavily. It doesn't have to be like a full out sprint, just whatever makes you breathe heavily at your current fitness state, with some lighter activity. So for example, you might do 5 intervals at a higher intensity where you're increasing your speed, or if you're on like a treadmill, the incline or the resistance for 1 to 2 minutes, and then have a 1 to 2 minute break in between that's a slightly lower intensity. So you're not going to fully stop, but you're going to dial down that incline, dial down that speed, dial down that resistance. And then an easy way to figure out if you are working hard enough to make a big difference for your cardiovascular health is without any equipment. Even if you're just out in the woods, going for a jog and just jogging and walking periodically, they just see if you can still talk or sing easily. I love singing. I do it all the time just for an expression of joy, expressions of sadness, like just to get it all out. I sing all the time. So if singing is something that you love, that's good for you spiritually and emotionally as well. Go ahead and see if you can sing or just talk a little bit while you're walking. You can talk to yourself. That's okay. I talk to the animals when I'm walking. All does are named Jane, and I like to call them by name, and I call the squirrel Steve. It's quirky, but it's fun for me, and it makes it seem a little bit less weird. Or maybe it's more weird. Who knows? I don't really care. But if you're not comfortable talking to yourself, you can talk to the animals. You can talk to, somebody who's walking with you. You can also go ahead and just do affirmations. You don't have to just talk to yourself when you're trying to gauge this. Whatever makes you most comfortable, go for it. Now, if you can't talk or sing easily, then you're working hard enough during your intervals. You want to add interval training to your workout routine. 1 or 2 days a week is what's recommended by a lot of health professionals. Now, for strength training, this is the one that freaks people out a little bit, but it's really chill. Strength training is one of my favorite things to do, even at really light weights. This is going to be really beneficial for maintaining your muscle mass, which is super important as we age. Both men and women lose muscle mass as we age, and it really gets replaced with fat. So skeletal muscle is going to burn more calories when you're at rest. So when you're just chilling at home, binging Netflix, or knitting, whatever you're doing, it's going to really burn more calories when you're sitting there compared to fat tissue. It also is going to protect your joints and can help your bones be stronger and maintain bone density. So that prevents fractures. That's going to help with issues related to osteoporosis as well. Maintaining and increasing your muscle mass can also help you with your balance and your agility. So especially those core muscles, those are the ones that help us, really stay upright, and they have a big impact on your posture. But when we think about core muscles, it doesn't just mean your abs and your external obliques. It's also going to be those muscles in the corresponding parts of your back. So all the way around. Strength training is really going to help us with that, because it's not enough to just do some cardio. Sure, that makes your heart and your lungs really good, and it also helps with reducing fat overall on your body, because you can't just spot train. But it's not going to necessarily increase the amount of muscles on your core. So we want to be doing different types of training in order to really take care of all of the parts of our body. So with your skeleton, you have these rough areas on bones, right? So if you're looking at a person and they're just bones at this point, they have these little rough areas on them. And those are sites of muscle attachment. You need those to be little rough so that the meaty part of your muscles, your ligaments and tendons as well, can hold on to the muscle and the skeleton. They need to be attached to each other to be useful. So the more you work out, the more muscle that you're creating, and the more rugged those little sites of muscle attachment are going to be. It's going to strengthen not just your muscles, but also your bones. Your bones provide the whole framework for your body, and the more stress that you put them under by working out consistently, the stronger they're going to get. Remember, those osteoclasts and osteoblasts are breaking down all of that old bone and constantly remodeling it with new bone. The more that you work out, the more it's going to reinforce the areas that are getting the exercise. So we need to make sure we're working out our entire bodies in order to improve that in your skeleton as well, all over your body. So how can we stop muscle mass from being lost and increase it instead to help our muscles and our bones? Lift weights. You don't have to become a bodybuilder. A lot of women are afraid that if they start lifting weights, that it's going to make them look jacked or more masculine, and that does not necessarily have to happen. I lift weights routinely, and I have a small, stereotypically feminine body. My stature is also small. I'm 5'2". So I, am going for toned is what I want. And that's fine. Everybody is going for their different goals. If you want to get jacked, girl, get it. I want that for you if that's what you want. But you can also lift weights and not have to get jacked. Now, if your routine does not currently include strength training, start at it slowly. You want to do one set of about 10 to 15 repetitions or reps of an exercise that challenge your major muscle groups. So your chest, your back, your arms, your legs. For example, for chest exercises, that's like a bench press. Don't do those unassisted, especially if you are new at this though. You want to make sure that you have somebody there who can spot you. And spotting just means that if something, potentially can go wrong, that they can help assist you in getting the weights off of you. So don't start that on your own. Now, do your bench press, or you can do a back exercise like rowing. If you have a row machine in your local gym or your apartment gym, go for it. You can also buy rowing machines. Those are pretty fun, actually. And you can do squats. So your leg exercises are squats, or lunges, if you are not familiar with that. You can also watch videos on YouTube to show you how to do those properly. Because if you're starting something new like that, getting the form down is more important than how many you're doing. If you're trying to do one set of 10 to 15 because you're just starting out, but you can only do 2 properly or 10, but they're bad in form, then we want to make sure that we are sticking with the 2 for now. Do the 2 with the correct form, and then you will gradually work your way up to being able to do more just by doing these regularly. Don't beat yourself up about it. Look at it and smile at your progress. That's what we're going for. Positivity. Now, if you go ahead and start doing those moves 2 to 3 times a week, then it's really going to help you out. You're going to increase your muscle mass, and it's going to be slow at first, but you'll start to see results eventually. If you're already lifting weights, increase your weight regularly. Make it a modest increment. So don't go crazy with it. Every few weeks, just go ahead and up it by about 2.5 to 10 pounds. Don't really go higher than that for the most part, unless you're already regularly working out all the time. And then keep track of it in a diary or a journal. Get you a cute journal and go ahead and start tracking it. Get you one with Spider-Man on it, or flowers, or kitties, whatever makes you happy. Get one with all 3 if you like. Deadpool likes cats and unicorns and stuff. Go ahead and get a Deadpool one. It'll have all those things on it. Whatever makes you happy. You want this to be fun. So even if you keep your routine exactly the same, increasing the weight for just your last few reps, so that they're challenging, but you're still able to accomplish them, can really help you still become stronger. And that means more lean muscle tissue, and that means, therefore, better calorie burning. Now, the last way to really help slow down those age-related changes is to keep adding challenge and variety to your workouts. Because if you get bored with it, you're not going to want to do it very much. And working out can be fun. Leg day is my favorite day. And a lot of people really don't like leg day, but I really enjoy the routine I've set for myself, and so it makes it a lot of fun for me. Now I only get to do that like once a week, but still, it's a lot of fun, and I really look forward to leg day, and that helps me power through, ab day and stuff like that. Now, when you perform an exercise routine over and over again, and you don't change it in frequency, or how long you're doing it, or your intensity, or the different types of exercises, then it can cause you to plateau. So then you'll stop seeing much of a difference. You might just maintain where you're at, but you might not see any more muscle gain. And that is just going to depend on what you want. If you're at the point where you're happy and you don't want it to go any further, then cool, you keep doing what you're doing. But over time, the lack of a challenge may allow age-related changes to creep in. If you get a little complacent with your workouts and you're not doing them as frequently as you should, then your body might too. So try a bunch of different fitness ideas for setting up this new routine for yourself. Try high intensity interval training, that one where you do, something that's like jogging for a minute and then walking for a minute, and then build from there. Do that 1 day a week, one workout a week. Then you can do, a cardio workout strictly another day. Then you can do strength training another day. Just experiment with it. Do some yoga. Flexibility is really important as well. Try different types of cardio. So, go swimming versus using the treadmill. Use different types of weights. If you are an outdoorsy person, go kayaking for your arm day. It's going to really make a big difference in how you view your exercise as well. We're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about how to start an exercise program in depth.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Couple of ways that our body really responds to exercise. Now we're going to really dive deep into how to start an exercise program at any age. So we know that people who exercise regularly tend to weigh less, and they have a reduced risk for heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. But they can also have relief from pain like arthritis. And it's really helpful in mediating, treatments for depression and for building stronger bones. I have a bum knee. It's my right knee. I actually messed it up when I was raking several years ago in the yard. I know, right? I sound like I'm already, my skeleton's aging, but we were raking in the yard and I was in a hurry and I lunged too far forward and my knee went over my toes, went way past it. And then I kicked back. And when I kicked back, my rake got snagged like on a root. And it really stopped that really quick motion very quickly and snapped that band. It really was very painful. I had some trouble with my PCL for a while. And then I didn't rest it long enough. And I made it worse by trying to exercise again too soon. And then it really destabilized that knee joint. Now, I say that to say this. You can injure yourself working out if you are not going at the correct speeds, but you can also injure yourself in daily activities. At that time, I had not been really working on my flexibility, and I had not been working on, really maintaining healthy muscles. I was just letting, whatever happen. I was in grad school. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm walking all over campus and I'm doing all these things for my graduate assistantship that's requiring me to lift all this stuff. I'm getting exercise already. But I was not really preparing my body for the taxing events that it was getting. Picking up grandkids and stuff can also be difficult on our bodies. So we need to make sure that we are limbering up for that. We don't want to go too far in our exercise and harm ourselves, but by working out a little bit each day or 3 times a week, just regularly, can really set up your body for success. Also, I have that knee problem, right? And sometimes it will ache. It'll just be super painful and super achy, particularly, the barometric pressure changes and all that jazz. I know a lot of y'all are probably real familiar with that with me. So when that happens, I like to put it through the range of motion that it would get in physical therapy. So if you've had knee surgery before, you know that if you afterwards, when you're going through rehab for it, you really just end up bending it and then straightening it out slowly over and over again. Well, what kind of exercise does that same type of movement without putting all of your body weight on that joint? I like to do the recline bike or just the cycling machine. I also have an under the desk bike at my desk. So I can use that while I am working or while I am watching television or, whatever I'm doing. I can go ahead and be getting that exercise. And sometimes I do that without even going at a pace for cardio, just to work out that knee. There are different ways that you can reach each of these goals that you're setting for yourself. And you just have to really be mindful of your own limitations and the things that'll make you feel better. Swimming is one of the exercises I like to do for cardio because it takes a lot of the pressure off that knee when it's aching. But in order to really strengthen that knee, I have to do other types of exercises like strength training. So for that, I go ahead and do leg presses. That helps me a lot. And I can do a lot more on leg presses than I can for, any of the types of leg curls. Those are a very low weight for me. So when you're starting an exercise routine, keep in mind you don't have to do the same amount of weight for every part of your body. Different parts of your body are going to often be stronger than other parts of your body, and that's okay. We want to go ahead and work out to where it's difficult, but not so much that it hurts. If it hurts in the moment, you should definitely stop because we don't want exercise to hurt in the moment. We're aiming for delayed onset muscle soreness, sometimes referred to as DOMS, and that is going to be several hours later. You're looking at 12 plus hours later as to when you should be sore, really. You should be tired, and it should be a little bit difficult when you're working out, but you don't want to have any pain, particularly like acute or sharp pains. So if you're feeling any pain, go down and wait or take the day off. Do cardio or something instead. Now, when we are starting these exercises and we're doing that minimum of 150 minutes of aerobic physical activity per week, you want to make sure you get the okay from your healthcare provider. Anytime you're going to change big life habits, it's important to make sure that you are doing it in a healthy manner that's not going to exacerbate any medical conditions. It will often say on exercise equipment to not work out if you are, experiencing any health problems. So just get the okay from your healthcare provider. If you're not sure about whether you're healthy enough to start an exercise program or you have arthritis or other issues that you think may cause some difficulty, ask your doctor about it. A lot of times they can give you some tips regarding how to work out or muscle groups that you should really be focusing on strengthening before you go further. You can also speak with a professional trainer, particularly one who has experience with people in your age group and activity level. Now, for your next one, make sure that you're choosing activities you enjoy. You want to avoid boredom, but also burnout. You want to start low and go slow. So do small amounts of low intensity exercise. You're going to work your way up to jogging and everything. If you're inactive right now, you can just start by walking at a regular pace, 5 minutes a day, 5 days per week. That's totally fine. And then you can slowly increase the amount of time and intensity in a way that feels healthy and good for your body. You want to make sure that in general, as you go along and you get more comfortable with this, that episodes of activity last at least 10 minutes and you perform them 3 or more days of the week. and you'll gradually work up to your goals. Keeping that journal is really helpful for tracking your progress. And remember, we are tracking progress, not beating ourselves up. If you're consistent about it, then at a certain point, you're going to be able to look back and go, man, I started out with just 5 minutes a day, and now I'm at 25 a day. I've been working really hard. And that doesn't matter if it takes you, 5 weeks or, 10 months. It's whatever is best for your body and that your healthcare provider approves. Now, for your intensity, they recommend using a 0 to 10 scale to really gauge the intensity of your workout. 0 means you're just sitting there chilling, and 10 is your highest level of effort possible, like you are maxing out your effort. When you can easily complete low intensity activity, then you're ready to increase your effort. Low effort is going to be, 1 to 4. Moderate is 5 or 6. So that means at 5 or 6, you can talk comfortably, but you can't sing. So, if you're walking quickly, like power walking, or if you are biking less than 10 miles an hour, or even, gardening. Gardening can be rough. I maintain a garden growing up, and I understand. You're on your hands and knees, you're sweaty, you're dirty. It is a lot sometimes. And also you're digging in the ground, so I think that totally counts too, particularly if you got a lot of roots. You can also do like ballroom dancing. Take a dance class. That's a moderate activity. Vigorous intensity is 7 to 8. So that means you can only speak a few words before you take a breath. So jogging, running, biking 10 miles an hour or faster, singles tennis, or, some really heavy gardening or swimming laps. Those are the kind of exercises that might be vigorous. Anything over that is just your highest level of effort possible. That's just that 9 and 10 where you're like, I can't really talk. I am, just working as hard as I can. You also want to make sure that you flex your muscles. If you're not comfortable with weight training to strengthen your muscles, you can also do resistance training. So you can use resistance bands. That's okay. That is totally fine. I use resistance bands sometimes with my exercises, even when I am also using weights. You can get them on Amazon, pretty cheap, I believe. It's going to really help you strengthen your muscle groups. You want to try to do that twice a week. So your legs, your hips, your back, your chest, your abdomen, shoulders, and arms. You can find good YouTube tutorials on those different muscle groups online that will help you figure out which exercises to do. You can also listen to our fitness podcast, and that can give you some good ideas about where to start as well. Now, this exercise of doing your weight training or your resistance training is in addition to your aerobic activity goals of that 150 minutes per week. But remember, we're working our way up to all those things. You don't have to start at 150. Don't panic. You can go ahead and just start at, 5 minutes a day for 5 days a week. So only 25 minutes of cardio throughout your week, and go ahead and just do, your muscle groups twice a week for your strengthening your core, your abdomen, your hips, your back, everything. Now, if you find those YouTube videos, you can also go ahead and show them to your doctor and be like, hey, do you think I could do this? And also, do you think that I could start at this weight? You want to kind of plan ahead a little bit throughout your week. I have a desk calendar that I like to use. It sits right on top of my desk, underneath my laptop most of the time, but it looks a little bit crazy. I use all kinds of different colored pens for writing on it to make sure that I know what is a deadline versus a workout goal, etc. So I just look at my schedule, and then I write in where I will have the best opportunities for physical activity. That way I'm not stressing out each day and just going, oh man, I'm too tired, or, I just don't have time for this. I plan ahead for it. I worked out on Christmas Day, and I also worked out on Super Bowl Sunday. So just because it's a national holiday for some people doesn't mean that you can't go work out. Now that said, I went to my apartment gym, so nobody had to be at work in order for me to be there. I don't like shopping on holidays and everything because I don't want people to have to work and not be able to be with their families. So in this case, at my apartment gym, They weren't there. I just had the key card to get in, and it was fine. Now, you can still hang out with your friends, though, is my point in that regard. I just told my friend, hey, I'm going to be at the gym for an hour. We're going to be doing Christmas dinner at 4 p.m. So you can plan accordingly. But I am going to be at the gym if you get here early. You want to make sure that you're still able to stick with those goals while still organizing your social wellness. Your individual goals are important, so don't forget that. Chart your progress. So keep activity logged in a calendar or an activity log, and then make sure you're not looking at this as an all or nothing kind of thing. Sometimes I go to the gym when I really don't want to go because that's the most important time to go. That's cultivating our discipline instead of just our motivation. And when I do that, I don't always give it my all per se, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not down to do 30 minutes of that physical activity today of my aerobics, but I'm going to do at least 10 minutes or 1 mile on the, elliptical is the one I prefer because of my knee. I don't like the treadmills as much, but I'll say, I'll do 10 minutes or 1 mile, whichever is greater. I need to do at least 1 mile, but if I can get it done in 10 minutes, then I can go ahead and stop. And that really helps me out. So sometimes it might take me longer than that in order to work out. I think I average about an 11-minute mile right now. I'm working on my own growth for that. But that's my goal. Even when I am not quite feeling it, I will make myself, an easier goal rather than, you have to do the 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Even if you can't meet your weekly goal for activity and strength training, doing something is better than doing nothing. It helps you maintain that pattern of regular exercise and really makes it a habit. It's very helpful for me to look at it in that regard. I am somewhat of a perfectionist and am very prone to just going, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not going to do it at all. But my ex has really brought it to my attention that life doesn't really work that way, and that a lot of the time it's like 90% just showing up. So even if I can't fully complete it to the best of my ability, I'm going to get something done, and that's going to build my discipline. And in the long run, doing just a little bit, even if it's not your full goal, doing it regularly is going to help you a lot more. We're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about aging and secrets to healthy aging.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. In our last segment, we talked about how to start a new exercise program if you have not been working on one before. Now we're going to talk about a more holistic approach beyond just fitness and working out to help us age well. Now, as we get older, we gain more wisdom and sometimes patience, but we are also going to get more gray hairs and our faces will have more lines on it. One of my favorite movies is Connie and Carla, and in it, they say, if he doesn't love you when you look like a map, tell him to hit the road. And that always makes me laugh. I have, laugh lines already, and our lines show that we have lived. So I'm not too big on getting rid of wrinkles and stuff, but I know that a lot of other people are. I try to mostly just prevent things like that at this point. So, how can we work on our bodies from a scientific perspective? So these are science-backed to give our bodies our best chance overall holistically as we age. One way to do that is by eating whole foods. We want to eat a lot of veggies, fruits, whole grains, nuts, and low-fat dairy. We talked more about milk in a previous podcast. If you want the skinny on milk, go ahead and check that one out. You want to eat less fatty meats, less butter, less sugar, salt, and packaged foods. A lot of studies have found that eating like that can help you live longer and protect against heart disease, cancer, and other diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. A lot of researchers think that one way that works is by physically changing parts of your chromosomes that are linked to age-related diseases. So that's pretty cool. Just by cutting out things that have added sugar and salt and packaged foods and eating less overall fat and eating more whole foods can help us out a lot. Another way is for walking. So you remember, if 30 minutes a day is too much for you, break it up into shorter strolls. You can do a 15-minute walk with your dog in the morning and a 15-minute walk in the evening as well. You can just do a 5-minute walk each time if that's easier for you. So instead of letting them out in the yard, go ahead and take a walk with them even once a day. And that's going to help both them and you. Now, if you work out regularly, especially briskly enough to feel breathless, that's going to be extra health benefits. That helps your brain cells stay healthy because it delivers more blood and oxygen. And some research suggests that aerobic exercise, that, working out really hard, your cardio, is going to delay or improve symptoms of Alzheimer's. It can also control your weight. It can boost your mood. So if you have anxiety or depression, it can help. It's not going to be your only goal at that point. Medication does play a large part in that, but it can help you. It can keep your bones and muscles strong. Exercising helps you sleep better. Think about when you take the kids to the pool in the summer and then they sleep so good when you get them home. Works for us too. If you work out and do aerobics or cardiovascular exercise, cardio workouts, then it's going to make you less likely to get heart disease, develop diabetes, type 2 that is, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, eat those Cheerios, but also go ahead and just take some walks, and that's going to help you out as well. Now, you can also stay connected. So remember, we are talking about health and wellness from a holistic perspective. So we want to take care of our body, so we definitely want to diet and to work out, but we also want to stay connected to people around us. Loneliness can negatively impact your health. If you feel lonely, and whether that's with you living alone or you live with someone or you have a lot of friends or you have none, you can really be lonely anywhere. You're more likely to also get dementia and depression if you're experiencing a lot of loneliness. They've done some studies and found that seniors who report feeling left out or isolated have more trouble with everyday tasks like bathing or climbing a set of stairs. We want to cultivate some of that social wellness to help us give our bodies our best shots. Lonely people also have higher levels of stress hormones that have been linked to inflammation, swelling, arthritis, and diabetes. So if you are having trouble with, issues like arthritis and you're having a lot of inflammation in your joints, go ahead and try spending some more time with people. Even if you are not able to work your way up to your workout goals just yet, have some friends over. That can help reduce your stress. If they can't, if you can't go to them, ask them to come to you. And you can still be getting a benefit from that even if you're not able to work out. We have another podcast episode on stress from a few weeks back, so check that out as well if you want to learn more about stresses linked to inflammation. Now, making friends or staying friends with people can help you out a lot. If you are into volunteer work, do that, or just help someone in need. It really helps you to connect with other people. Go hang out at the library. That's one of my favorite places to hang out, to be honest. And it's kind of quiet, so it's good for me as an introvert, but I'm around other people and I can spark up a conversation quietly if I so choose. You can also add fiber to your diet. So swapping out your white bread for whole grain is really helpful. I'm on a bread step down program right now, so I'm not eating white bread anymore. I am eating honey wheat, which is still processed and everything, but I just don't like chunky things in my bread, all those little seeds and nuts and stuff, those grains really. But I'm working on it and am gradually getting there to whole grain. So remember, we're making better choices, not perfect choices. So you can try something similar if you would like in order to start adding more fiber into your diet. Put kidney beans in your soup or lentils, or put apple slices in your salad. I love a good salad with apple slices and chicken and some walnuts in there for a crunch, and also some more protein and some healthy fats. It's really delicious to me. I like them with a pomegranate vinaigrette, and you can make any variation on that theme for yourself. The fiber is going to not only help your gut out, but it's going to fill you up and make you feel full for longer. It's going to cut your cholesterol levels as well, especially those LDLs, and it's going to lower your chance of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and colon cancer. Remember in our diabetes episode, we talked about how eating more fiber allows your body to slow down digestion long enough for those little finger-like projections, those microvilli, in your intestines to really absorb more of the fructose, more of those complex sugars that you're eating, fructose and sucrose, because remember sucrose is 55% fructose, 45% glucose, and our bodies only naturally produce or use glucose really well. So we want to make sure we do that so it's giving us a better shot for, keeping our insulin levels appropriate. It can also help you avoid constipation, which is more common in adults as they age. After age 50, they recommend that men shoot for getting 30 grams of fiber a day and women 21 grams of fiber per day. If you're smoking, they recommend that you stop. I'm not here to lecture you about it. I'm just here to give you the facts and the numbers and let you make your own decisions. Now, tobacco can harm a lot of different organs in your body. Cigarettes, chewing tobacco, and other products with nicotine can cause heart disease, cancer, lung and gum disease, and a lot of other health issues. It's never too late to quit. My grandparents quit when I was born because they wanted to spend more time with me and not, have me exposed to secondhand smoke. And since they did that and they realized how much money they were saving by quitting, they're like, oh, we're gonna, buy us more things that we just want. We're going to treat ourselves because we're saving so much just by not, smoking a pack a day each, etc. I don't know if that's how much they were smoking at the time, but my grandma and grandpa have told me that though. And I really appreciate that perspective as well. Now, your body begins to heal within 20 minutes of your last cigarette, according to WebMD. And they say that your chances of a heart attack also lower very quickly. In 1 year, your odds of heart disease drop by half if you stop smoking or stop using tobacco, nicotine really, and you'll also live longer. If you are wanting to quit smoking, ask your doctor for help in that. You can also try Tai Chi. I did Tai Chi in college a little bit, and it's a very gentle exercise that uses slow movements and deep breathing. So if you like to be a little bit more active and meditating is just a little bit too much sitting still, then try Tai Chi. It's like meditating while you're moving. And I like that one a lot better than just sitting still. It's going to help you avoid falling. It's also going to help ease your stress. Your balance is going to be improved. It strengthens your muscles, increases your flexibility, and can lessen arthritis pain. I know it sounds a little bit, different that you're just doing these slow movements and you're essentially just doing a moving meditation, but it can really be beneficial to your body in a lot of ways. There is another episode of our podcast that I believe Cynthia did on slow movement workouts, and they're actually finding that they can be incredibly helpful for building muscle in a lot of people. So believe it or not, doing Tai Chi regularly can also strengthen your muscles. Now, we want to make sure that for the most part, we're getting our nutrients from food and not from pills. You don't typically need special supplements that are aimed at seniors. After age 50, your body does need more vitamins and minerals than you used to. And they include calcium, that's to help keep your bones strong, vitamin D. A lot of people get that from sunlight, so 90% of our vitamin D comes from sunlight and only 10% from our food. But some seniors may not get out enough. Even if it's just going and sitting out on your patio for 20 minutes, go ahead and go for it. It's going to really help you out a lot. I go sit by the pool for like 20 minutes sometimes just because I need sunlight. At my last apartment, I had a balcony, and I would go and sit out there each evening and read for like 30 minutes. But I can't do that now because my new apartment doesn't have a balcony. So the pool it is. Now, the next one you want to really think about is B12. As we age, we have more trouble absorbing B12 from foods, so we may need fortified cereals. So that's a better way to get it, or a supplement if you really hate the cereal, and that's fair. That's fair. A lot of cereals I think are really gross. I'm not a granola type of person. Totally respect when people are, and I really wish I liked health food more. But we just have to get a little bit more creative if we are not into those things. Vitamin B6 keeps your red blood cells really strong, and that's important for carrying oxygen throughout our bodies. Oxygen in our brain area helps us to think better, so getting an improved blood flow is going to help that out a lot, but also giving your body vitamin B6 in addition to exercise is really going to help your body out overall. Now, if you think you're going to need supplements, go ahead and talk to your doctor about it so you can avoid medication interactions. Remember, I talked the other day about how birth control and calcium had a link that my doctor made me aware of that I was totally not aware of before, and that could have been bad news bears. But when I went ahead and brought it up one day, they were like, oh, hey, you need to be careful with that. My previous doctor had not told me, even though they were the ones who told me to take the calcium to begin with. So you want to make sure that you check that and that you are telling each of your doctors all of the different medications that you're on, including any vitamins or supplements. You want to make sure that they have the full picture. So I had one doctor tell me calcium. I had a different doctor tell me birth control. And then when I went to another doctor, I was like, oh yeah, and calcium, because I had been forgetting to tell the other ones. And they were like, oh, you need to make sure that you're careful with that. All right. That is what I needed to know. Thank you, Doc. And it's because I was fully disclosing everything. Before that, I wasn't thinking of vitamins or supplements as being, really a big component of medicine. I wasn't thinking of them as medicine per se. When I think medicine, I think, what's been prescribed to me or, ibuprofen, that kind of thing. But we really want to tell them all of it. Now, after that, we want to make sure that we're staying optimistic. Life can be really testing in a lot of ways, and things throughout our lives can be really difficult. And as we get older, they tend to pile up naturally because we've just lived more, and therefore more things have happened to us. People we love pass away, people get laid off, health problems can snowball. But if we think positively, we can really help ourselves out. Now, I don't want you to, not consider any of the things that are going on in your life that are difficult. It's important to be able to sit in the emotions without wallowing, but to be mindful of them and just really experience grief and other emotions that people think of as being negative. Otherwise, we're going into toxic positivity territory. And I really don't, want everybody going that far, because it can be draining on a person if we do it that way. What I instead mean is I want everyone to really try to be optimistic and grateful. We want to work on our gratitude even in the darkest times. So sure, go ahead and sit in that grief and grieve for your loved one who you've lost. But maybe at the end of the day, or, after a week or so, when you're able to really process it some more, write down a couple of things that you're grateful for about that person. Write about the things that they brought into your life that made you joyful or helped you grow as a person. And remember that you've gotten through these things before and you will again. People who are more optimistic and grateful tend to live longer and have fewer heart attacks and depression than people who focus on more of the negative things. Positive emotions can be cultivated over time with a lot of practice. So you can smile when you are stressed out, even a fake one. They did that big in the 90s. It was called smile therapy. They talked about it on Ally McBeal as well. One of the characters, who was played by Peter McNichol, was very sad a lot, and John was just prone to bouts of melancholy. So his therapist was having him smile even when he wasn't happy. So it made him look a little bit like those, happy and sad masks from the theater, but it helped him after a while. Like, he would fake smile, and then he would start to feel a little bit better. It sounds really weird, and I am historically a person who would think that was very silly, but I have tried that sometimes too, and it does help lower my stress. You can also try to reframe your situation. So trying to think more about good things instead of dwelling on the bad. Keep a gratitude journal, like what I do. You can do nice things for others, even if it's, baking cookies or whatever you do that you enjoy. Go ahead and knit someone a scarf or a beanie or something. I love made things, and I really especially love skills that I don't have myself. So when I get a gift that someone has made me, I get really stoked, even if it's just a picture that someone's drawn for me. I know we think of kids as just being the ones who draw pictures for people, but if you give me a doodle, I don't care if you are 55 or 5. I'm going to put it on my fridge, and I'm going to love it. So anything like that boosts your spirits, doing kindness for others, surrounding yourself with people who make you happy, and just accepting things you can't change. Lastly on this list, make sure you're getting a lot of sleep. Insomnia is common increasingly as we age, and it's both having a hard time falling asleep and staying asleep. I have insomnia already, and it is difficult, but it helps to, try to sleep on a schedule, waking up and sleeping. So I try to get up by at least 9:30 each day and make sure that I am doing what I need to do, even though my jobs can be accomplished at any time of the day. I used to just stay up until 4 a.m., and that really made the depression and everything a lot worse. So keeping your body clock in sync can really help you get the sleep you need and can also mediate any mental health issues you're having. So when you're sleeping, to help with the insomnia, keep your bedroom dark. I'm going to get some blackout curtains. You want to make sure you turn off your TV. I don't have a TV in here, but I do have my laptop in here. So I need to make sure I'm keeping my laptop and my cell phone off. Last night, I listened to a podcast while I was going to sleep. Unfortunately, I forgot to set a timer on it, so it woke me up in the middle of the night, still playing. You want to make sure you avoid any alcohol or caffeine in the evening. You might think that alcohol is going to help you sleep, but actually it can cause a lot of sleep disturbances. And I am discovering that increasingly as I get older. You don't want to nap longer than 20 minutes during the day. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your REM sleep patterns. That's why a lot of times when people lay down for a nap, they wake up and they feel worse later on. It's because the nap was too long. No more than 20 minutes a day. And then ask your doctor if any of your meds also might be keeping you awake. So if you are on antidepressants like Prozac and such, then you want to take those in the morning because Prozac can keep you awake at night. I only know about that one in particular. If you are on something else, make sure that you talk to your doctor about it and see if any of your vitamins, supplements, or medications may be keeping you awake. All right, we're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some physical activity guidelines for older adults.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. In our last segment, we were talking about some secrets to aging healthy from a holistic perspective. Now we're going to talk about some physical activity guidelines for older adults. So really, adults age 65 and older is what we're looking at now. If you are in this age bracket, or if you're approaching this age bracket, then this is really going to be beneficial to keep in mind. Now, where do we start here? So our physical activity guidelines for older adults, which is generally referred to as being 65 and older, are pretty much the same as what we've already been discussing for people in their 40s and their 50s. You want to do some activities that will improve strength, balance, and flexibility at least 2 days a week. You're still aiming for 150 minutes of that moderate intensity activity, so that cardio type thing, a week, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity if you're already active, or a combination of both. So as I mentioned before, the more we are active, the less our bodies actually need us to keep being active in order to maintain our bodies where they are. So if you are already active, you only have to do half of what you would otherwise be having to do. So once you get up to that goal, then you actually are going to have a little bit more time to play with. You also want to reduce the time that you spend sitting or lying down and break up long periods of not moving with some activity. Now, I am 31 right now, but I also spend a lot of time at home on my computer. My volunteer work, my hobbies, my research, a lot of that is sedentary at my computer. So I do like to get up every hour or so and try to take some type of break. Even if that's just walking into the other room to get coffee, it's really good for me. It also improves my circulation. So my feet are cold like all of the time, but I've found that on days when I work out, especially if I do cardio, it's not as cold. So even if my house is the exact same temperature, my feet are not absolutely freezing me when I am in bed. Now, if you're having similar issues, getting a little bit more active is going to help you out as well. Now, if you've fallen or you're worried about falling, focus on some exercises that will improve your strength, your balance, and your flexibility. That's going to help you feel stronger and more confident on your feet. It's also really going to stabilize your core, and if you do fall, help you with your reflexes a little bit and have those bones and muscles strengthened to give you a better shot at not having a fracture if you fall. Talk to your general practitioner if you are concerned about exercising at all, though. I know I've said that a couple times, but just in case you are tuning in right now, I want to make sure that I get that across. It's okay to ask your doctor about it. In fact, it is encouraged. Your doctor would like for you to ask about it. Now, what counts as light activity? That's anything other than sitting or lying down. So if you get up to make a cup of tea, that counts. Just walking around your house, taking a stroll in the woods to go look at deer, cleaning or dusting, vacuuming, making the bed, standing up. Those are all helpful things that you can do for your body. Now, I have read a study that says that you should not make your bed within 30 minutes of getting up because the mites and stuff that are naturally on our bodies are going to really love being in that nice warm environment. And we don't really want them to proliferate. But by exposing them to sunlight and not making your bed immediately can really help us get rid of some of those microbes. So we want to make sure that we are giving that a break. Now, the good news here, and why I mention that, is that since it's light activity and you should be giving it 30 minutes anyway, you can get up, go in the living room, sit down and read the newspaper and have your breakfast, and then go and make your bed. And that's going to help you break up some of that sitting and lying down time. Just standing up as well can also really help you out. If you are at a screen a lot or you're sitting there reading, they really recommend getting up every 45 minutes or so and going and looking at something that's far in the distance to help maintain your eyesight as well. Now, we've already talked a little bit in our previous segment about what is moderate versus vigorous intensity exercises. And I will just add that water aerobics is also moderate. So is doubles tennis or pushing a lawnmower or hiking if that is what you're into. You can also, for vigorous intensity exercises, do, swimming fast. So those are those laps and stuff. If you are riding your bike at a quick clip, or if you are doing hills, that's also going to count as vigorous activity rather than just riding your bike through the woods. For, if you're very active, go ahead and play a game of football. If you're not worried about impact sports and that's where you're at in your fitness goals, you can play football, or even, flag football. You can hike uphill. So hiking in Texas is very different from hiking in North Carolina. In Texas, my friends are like, you want to go for a hike? And I'm like, you guys, we're really just, we're walking in the woods. That's what this is right now. But they still call it hiking. Whereas in North Carolina, if you're going to hike, sometimes it involves like really slippery ladders and ropes and insane inclines just because it's more mountainous where I'm from. So if you are doing like a North Carolina hike, then you're going to maybe want to, consider that vigorous activity because it's all uphill. You can Google the trails and stuff around you if you're curious about their intensity. You can also do energetic dancing. So if you want to dance with wild abandon, that is vigorous intensity. And martial arts also counts. You can get into martial arts at any age. So if you always wanted to do, karate or taekwondo and you haven't gotten into it before, you can go ahead and do that now. There are so many different types of martial arts that are available to you. And as, the world gets more populous, we have more and more of these martial arts centers available to us. Go ahead and check it out. You might be more of a jiu-jitsu person, or you may be more into, Wing Chun, depending on how big you are, how tall you are and stuff. There are so many different types. So go check it out and see what's good for you. For strengthening your muscles, anything from carrying heavy shopping bags is going to help you out, to yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi. Remember, it doesn't just have to be lifting weights or doing resistance bands. Anything that also uses your own body weight, like push-ups or sit-ups, those count. You can do push-ups against a wall that has a good structure as well. You don't have to do them starting out straight on the ground. And remember, we want to focus on our form first. So YouTube that form or talk to a personal trainer to really get that correct first. Also, any heavy gardening that involves like digging or shoveling is going to be a muscle strengthening activity. So you have a bunch of different options. To get the health benefits from these strength exercises, you just have to do them to the point where you need a short rest before repeating the activity. That's your goal. So you can try any of those types of exercises. You can do sitting exercises as well, like that under the desk bike that I have. You can also do light weights or resistance bands while sitting. You can curl those soup cans as well. Whatever is best for you is going to be what I want you to pursue. It's, taking it at your own pace, because we don't want to hurt ourselves. We're just wanting to do better and set our bodies up for success. Now, there's no official fitness guideline for older adults. The basic exercises for seniors are the same at every age. The average 65-year-old can expect to reach their 85th birthday. The average 75-year-old will live to 87. So we have another 12 to 20 years in us, even when we get to what people consider to be advanced age. But how we celebrate those birthdays, whether we are being the life of the party or if we're just kind of chilling on the sidelines, really has to do with how we spend our time today, each day. Now, none of us can really be certain that we won't get a debilitating disease or disorder that could cause us mobility issues as we get older, but we want to give our bodies the best shot. So work out the best that you can now. If you're already living with a disease or a disorder that is causing mobility issues, talk to your doctor or a personal trainer about the options that you may have. I have friends back home who have issues like cerebral palsy, and they still have crazy awesome abs. Like, they have very awesome abs, and their upper body strength is just outrageously strong. They could lift far more than I can because they are moving the wheelchair around a lot, or they're on crutches, and they don't let that stop them. Now, that also means, they don't always feel like working out, and that's totally fine. But a lot of their natural day-to-day activities will also help them with their working out. So just talk to your doctor, talk to your other friends who have, these disabilities that they're living with as well, and see what they do in their daily lives. Find someone who you think is inspirational and go, hey, what are you doing with your exercise routine? Go onto those Facebook groups as well and just be like, hey, we have this in common. What are you doing to get these results? I'm really interested in that. Most of the time, people will just go and outright tell you. They're happy to share some form of success with someone who is interested in it. People are just waiting for someone to take an interest in the things that interest them. You might also just make a new friend out of it, and remember that social wellness is just as important as we age. All right, we're going to go on another break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about tips for healthy aging.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. In our last segment, we were really talking about how exercising in ages 65 and older can be accomplished through just regular activities in addition to actual, traditional concepts of working out. Now we're going to talk about some more tips for healthy aging. So it's not just living an active life. It's going to be, maintaining our brains as well. 1 in 8 older adults, age 65 and older, in the United States have Alzheimer's disease. And some cognitive decline is just a normal part of aging. So some researchers have done several studies that indicate a lifestyle that includes cognitive stimulation, like doing active learning, can slow cognitive decline. So that's part of intellectual wellness. I'm going to really dive deeper into intellectual wellness in another episode because I feel like out of all the types of wellness, that is one of them that is truly overlooked for the most part, more so than any of the other types like spiritual, physical, emotional. We tend to focus on those more, but we don't focus as much on social or intellectual wellness. But it's important to maintain our brains. When I was in community college, I actually tutored an elderly gentleman who was about 75 years old at that time, and I was tutoring him in computers. It was intro to computers, and he had decided that at 75, he wanted to learn how to do that. And that was over 10 years ago. Computers were used a lot back then, but it was mostly still word processing for most people. There was like a little bit of gaming, but for the most part, Facebook was brand new at that point. You still had to have like a school address, email address, I think, in order to sign up for it. So this gentleman was really trying to get ahead of the curve, but also he was just naturally curious. And I think that natural curiosity also keeps us young. So once you get to be a certain age, generally about 65 or older, you can start taking classes for free at a lot of institutions, community colleges, and universities. Sometimes it's going to depend on whether or not the class is already full. So they might say, hey, if we have extra spots from, where students are paying for it, then you can go ahead and take it for free. Other places might not care at all. So if you've been wanting to learn Spanish, or you are curious about how to weld or work on your own car or do HVAC repairs, this gentleman was also taking HVAC classes just because he wanted to know how things work. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I really loved his enthusiasm for learning. Now, as a 75-year-old gentleman, he did fall asleep sometimes while I was tutoring him, and I would just, give him a minute, and then I would gently wake him up. I'm like, hey, do you want to keep continuing, or are you done for the day? And then we could pick up another day if he wanted to, or we could go ahead and proceed, just however he felt about that. It's totally okay to go and do that. And if you want tutoring, you can also get a tutor for free through most universities and community colleges. I tutored all throughout college, and, we're glad to do it. People tutor because they love teaching people and because they love watching people learn new things. It's kind of magical watching someone discover something for the first time. Just like watching kids, it doesn't matter to me what age somebody is when they're learning something. It's always magical watching somebody learn something for the first time. So if you want to introduce a little magic into your life, even at age 75, I say go for it and go learn something new. You can also go online and take free courses through websites like Coursera, or you can go to edX. They each have different types of learning on them. W3 Schools and Code Academy will teach you about computer learning, like, how to program or code things. You can take classes in using Excel. You could even go and take a bunch of classes through Khan Academy, totally also for free, where this gentleman sits here and he does math on the screen for you while he's talking to you. I love his videos. And if you want to learn that just so you can help your grandkids with their homework, that's a good way to do it too. A lot of times nowadays, teachers will send kids the links for Khan Academy in case they get stuck while doing their homework. I was not in school when Common Core came out, but I have been trying to learn Common Core math over the years and keep up with it as my godson and my nieces and nephews really go through school so that I can help them with their math as they go along. That is also enriching for me. A lot of people don't like Common Core math, but I'm going to go ahead and stand on my soapbox for this intellectual wellness right now and say Common Core math is really not that bad. And I know it doesn't make sense to us right now, but I want you to think about how difficult calculus and other types of advanced math may have been for you as you got older. Now, Common Core math, while it seems like a lot of different steps and it seems ridiculous when they are younger, it's not actually trying to teach them to do math that way at a lower level. It's trying to teach them number sense. And that means that when they get to higher mathematics, it's going to be easier for them than it was for us, at least theoretically. So it can be frustrating in the meantime, and I know it looks messy and weird, but try to stick with it and encourage your kids to learn it so that we can really foster, a good learning of mathematics. And if you're down, go ahead and learn it online too. It's honestly not that bad. And it's very interesting to see how their little minds think differently from ours because of how they're learning this math. If you want to, you can still teach them the other methods of doing math that we grew up with at home, but they do need to understand the number sense for school themselves. If you can help them out, even better. Now, learning new things and stimulating your intellectual wellness as we age is not just about learning math or learning new facts or reading history books. It can also be taking dance lessons. You can learn all types of different ways. You can attend lectures at local universities. A lot of them, if you just follow their Facebook page, they will tell you when they're having local events, and they have big names come through. Some of them you have to pay for. Some of them are just free local lectures. A lot of local libraries also have some new, lectures coming through. My ex taught an improv class at the library once. It was very fun, and they had people of all ages. There were children there. There were adults. There were people from age 5 all the way through age 75. And it was such a fun experience for just seeing these people of all different ages come together to just be silly and imaginative for a while and really learning how to do improv, and because there are structured rules for it, and also how to just let loose and be goofy and not worry about being judged around other people. We are all capable of so much growth, and there are so many different ways to cultivate it. If you've been wanting to learn to play a musical instrument or to learn how to sing better and you want vocal training, that counts as learning too. And a lot of these can be a 2 birds with 1 stone thing. If you learn a new language, that's your intellectual wellness, but it also widens up your capacity for social wellness by increasing the amount of people you can communicate with, either online or in person. It opens up options for traveling if you want to do that. You can, also just read a book for fun, for enrichment, or, learning to play a musical instrument can be good for emotional wellness as well as intellectual wellness, because you're also learning, but you are finding a way to emotionally express yourself as well. I really encourage you guys to go out there and try some of these tips we discussed today. It is never too late to start something new, but it is also never too early. So just because some of us are not at age 65 or older right now, does not mean we should not take these things into account. I know that I was really reluctant to take people's advice as, I was growing up when I was younger. I'm like, oh yeah, it's whatever. You say that once you hit 25, it's all downhill from here. But turns out a lot of people were very much right about that, and I just had the stubbornness of youth. So a lot of you guys are still going to probably be like, oh, I don't need to worry about this. But, hit me up when you turn 31 and we'll talk about it again. In the meantime, you can also hit me up with any feedback, questions, or suggestions for shows you'd like to see in the future on social media by going to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast on Twitter or Facebook. That's all I have for y'all today. So thank you for listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show, and writing a nice review always really helps us. Also, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I'd appreciate it. Thank you kindly, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.